Hello, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar with the Governor's School for the Arts. We're here today to talk about GSA 101. We're just going to the basics today to talk a little bit about what GSA is, the Governor's School for the Arts, what the summer program is like, and what the application process is like. We'll have time for your questions at the end, but before we get started and before we introduce ourselves, well, first I'll introduce myself and I'll introduce my team member in a moment. But my name is Nick Cobalt. I'm the Executive Director of the Governor's School for the Arts. I'm also a proud alum of our program and was doing vocal music, and we'd love to just know who all's out there listening in, and we'd love for you to get a sense of each other. So if you could just pop into the chat, say hi to the group, maybe tell us your first name and what county you're coming from. And then you all can be connected to each other in the chat throughout the presentation if you'd like. Hey, Sarah in Laurel County. Hi, Lennon in Jessamine County. All right, Savannah's also coming from Laurel County. All right, Woodford County is represented. That's awesome. Heather from Boone. Hi, Taylor. Awesome. So we got a parent. Northern Kentucky is represented tonight. It's awesome. Hi, Carmen. Awesome. Well, you all continue to hi, Danielle. Continue to connect with each other in the chat and let folks know that you're here and where you're coming from. So you all have a sense of each other. Community is important even in our GSA 101 webinars. And I'm also going to launch a poll real quick just to get a better understanding of who you are and what you're into. So in this poll, again, we're just asking you, are you a student? Are you a parent? Maybe some other category. What art form or art forms are you interested in? Have you attended one of these virtual sessions before? And also, have you applied to GSA before? Which that would mean that you're a junior. If you're a sophomore, you've not applied to GSA before. So we'll give you just a few seconds to fill out the poll. And we'll share it with you so you can see who else is in the room and what their story is. Right, give you just a few more seconds here. All right, let's share the poll here. And it looks like most of our attendees today are students who are currently eligible to apply for GSA or in the 10th or 11th grade. Glad to have you join us, and good for you for having some ambition and attending this tonight and learning as much as you can about your application for the Governor's School for the Arts. Awesome. And really excited to see some parents and educators and guidance counselors joining us tonight. Thank you all so much. The support that you provide to young artists, to GSA applicants is so important. And we see you and appreciate you, and we are here for you as well in this process. So thank you for joining us. It looks like we have a pretty fairly even spread of interest in the art forms. Our visual artists really showed up tonight, it looks like. That's awesome. Let's see, most of you have not attended one of these sessions before. That's great, because this is a really in-depth overview session. So it's an in-depth overview. It might sound like oxymoron, but I think it's a good description. Good for you. This should hopefully be helpful. And then most of you have not applied to GSA before. That's great. Thank you for telling us a little bit about yourselves. So like I said, my name is Nick Cobalt. I'm the Executive Director of the Governor's School for the Arts, but I'm also joined today by an amazing colleague and partner in this work. She is GSA's Associate Director, Paula O. Lockhart. Hey, Paula, how you doing?
Hello, hello. I'm doing well. I'm so happy to be on here with you all tonight and to take part in helping you all learn more about GSA. It's so nice to see all the counties represented. And yeah, this is going to be an amazing webinar and an amazing experience. So thank y'all so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to come hang out with us.
Awesome. Thanks, Paula. And Paula's going to
Mhm.
be standing by to help us out with some questions later. We will have time for Q&A at the end of today's webinar. Like I said, it's a pretty thorough webinar, so feel free to put your questions in the Q&A feature as you have them, but also encourage you to maybe like write them down, and if they get answered, you can just scratch them out, and if they don't, then you can put them into the Q&A. But no matter either way, we'll be glad to get your questions and answer them at the end. So if you don't see us answer them right away, just hang tight. We're also live streaming this webinar on Facebook today. So if you're watching this on Facebook, hello. And if you want to add a question into the comments there, we'll do our best to monitor that. We're also recording today's webinar. The recording we'll put up on our website so folks can view it if they weren't able to attend in real time. And if you are watching this in real time on Zoom, you should receive a survey after the webinar. Please take that survey. It's very short. I think it's maybe 4 or 5 questions. Will probably take you less than 5 minutes. Those surveys really help us understand how well we're recruiting and what areas of growth we have as we try to support our applicants for GSA. All right, so give me just a moment here. I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to get this show on the road. Let's see here. Just one moment. Here we go. All right. So let's start by talking about a very simple question. What is GSA? Well, put simply, the Governor School for the Arts is a community of artists that powers Kentucky's next generation of creative leaders. So I want you to note that we're not talking about ourselves as a fun summer arts camp, nor are we saying we're a place where you come to be the best dancer in the world. Rather, we're saying we're a community and a community of artists, and what we're about is empowering the next generation of creative leaders, creative leadership. So that is definitely has a lot in common with a summer arts camp, but I think it's a slightly more maybe abundant mission than some people might think we have. So the main reason the main way we accomplish this mission, and the reason you're likely watching this video, of course, is our summer program. So the GSA summer program is a 3-week residential program for high school aged artists that takes place on a college campus. So while students are there, they're immersed in an intense, challenging, but also exhilarating learning environment in one of 9 art forms. And while each student focuses on the one art form that they are attending GSA for, interdisciplinary collaboration is also a major component of the program. So that means that students are also exposed to and engaged with art forms other than the one that they're at GSA to really focus on. So if you're familiar with our sister program, the Governor Scholars Program, we're similar in that you do have a focus area at GSA, but we're different in that you also apply for that focus area. So GSA's 9 areas of focus, or our 9 art forms, are the ones you see on your screen right now. I'll go through these and tell you a little bit more about them. Architecture and design, creative writing, dance, drama, film and photography, instrumental music, musical theater, visual art, and vocal music. So some of these kind of speak for themselves, but a little bit of context about some of them. Architecture and design, I know some of us hear architecture and we think, oh, designing houses, or really like residential architecture. And our architecture and design program is really focused on broader design concepts that are really applicable to anyone who might be interested in going into college to study various types of design. So let's say you're interested maybe in like interior design or industrial design, or maybe even something like fashion design. You're not going to focus on just one of those areas in architecture and design, but you are going to have a broader design focus. So just wanted to note that, because some people will get hung up on that word architecture and think, oh, am I just going to go design houses for 3 weeks? And no, it's broader than that. Creative writing, I think, speaks for itself, but if you have questions, let us know. Our dance program is based in ballet, modern, dances of the African diaspora, and choreography. You don't necessarily have had to have experience in all 4 of those areas, In fact, we expect very few people will have. But those are the kind of 4 core elements of the dance curriculum at the summer program. Which we have our drama program, film and photography. Our instrumental music program, you can apply with any instrument. We don't have a band or an orchestra, so what I mean by that is we aren't looking to accept a certain number of specific instruments. Rather, we accept a different slate of instruments every year, just kind of based on who's in the applicant pool, and we choose music, usually chamber music, which means small ensemble music, around those instruments that are selected. Visual art is based in drawing, painting, sculpture, ceramics, printmaking. Although again, you do not need to have had experience in all of those areas, nor do we really expect any or most of our applicants to have had experience in all those areas, but rather those are just the things that you'll study. And then musical theater, that's a little bit more Broadway-based music. Our vocal music program is going to tend to be more classical-based music. Vocal music is also where we have our choir. So if you were like me when I was in high school and you're a choir, I was a self-described choir nerd, I'll say that for myself, and I also loved listening to classical music. The vocal music program might be a fit for you. But you can apply for up to 2 because we know we don't all live in artistic silos. So you can apply for up to 2, but you can only attend 1. Best of all of this is provided at no cost to students. So GSA does not charge tuition, room or board, or any other fees for attending the program. And keeping the program tuition free has been an important part of our mission since we were founded in 1987 as a partnership between the Commonwealth of Kentucky and Kentucky Performing Arts, which is a nonprofit in Louisville with a statewide mission. It was formerly known as the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts. So if you ever go to GSA's website, you'll sometimes see it. The URL will change to Kentucky Performing Arts website. Don't worry, that's not a mistake. It's just our parent institution's website. In addition to being tuition free, which is one of my favorite facts about GSA, you all may have heard some other exciting news, which is my other favorite fact about GSA, and that is that we are expanding in the summer of 2022. We are so excited. This is actually something I don't think we announced the last time we did this GSA 101 webinar. So in the summer of 2022, we are going to be able to double the size of our student body, which is very exciting. We anticipate going from just 1 3-week program, which currently in previous years we've had capacity for 256 students at that 1 3-week program. Now we're going to have 2 3-week programs, each of them with 256 students, meaning that there will be a total of 512 students accepted into GSA for the summer of 2022. There's literally never been a better time to be a GSA applicant. So that's very exciting news. We're thrilled about that. That's thanks to some funding from the Kentucky Department of Education, and we will have that level of capacity for at least the next 3 summers through the summer of 2024. So we're very excited about that. Now, what that does mean, because it's been a lot of change very quickly, which is good, but we are still determining exactly what that expanded model is going to look like. What I mean by that is we can't yet tell you the exact dates for either of the GSA sessions next summer. What we can tell you is that anyone who attends GSA next summer will attend in June and or July, but we hope to have the specific dates out hopefully in the next month. That's really what we're pushing for, maybe a month and a half. But by that point, we'll still be early in the application process. So if you have more questions about our expansion, we can certainly answer them. So before we dive further into what the summer program itself looks like, let's talk about GSA's values. What do we believe in? What's important to us? Well, first of all, we believe artists are vitally important to society. And if you are passionate about your art form, that likely means you. You are an artist and you are important. And as an artist, you make vital contributions to our society. Artists innovate, they problem solve and inspire. They spark empathy, joy, social dialogue, and human connection. GSA's role is to connect young artists to affirmation, empowerment, resources, and quality education opportunities toward a future where they can be the best version of themselves. And we know that behind every artist is a network of support, educators, mentors, family, and friends. So again, if you're watching this as a guardian, teacher, or just a cheerleader for young artists, GSA is here for you too. We know your support and mentorship of young artists is vitally important, so thank you for being an arts hero. And in all things GSA, here are some values and descriptors that you can plan on encountering. GSA is uplifting. We believe that each of us is capable and deserving of a bright and abundant future. It's open and communicative. That we celebrate differences between us and seek out the commonalities we might not have realized we share. GSA is about community. We live, learn, and grow together as many individuals contributing to something greater than the sum of our parts. The program is about trust and integrity, because without accountability and honoring our commitments to each other, we can't access the next three values, which are authenticity, vulnerability, and resilience. At GSA, we dare to be our true and best selves, embracing our quirks, growing and learning together, courageously sharing our unique voices with the world, and celebrating each person's worth. GSA is also about Kentucky love. With students coming from all corners of the Commonwealth, we discover the cultural richness of our state and develop our roles in creating the future we want for our home. And of course, GSA is about creativity and innovation. After all, we are artists. We flip the script, we pivot, we design a brighter tomorrow, and we bring color and joy to everyday life. So that's who we are, but what kind of students are we looking for to join the GSA summer program? Well, to be eligible to apply for next summer program, you must currently be a high school sophomore or a junior. If you're not quite old enough to apply for GSA yet, keep watching, because you can start preparing yourself to be a competitive GSA applicant years in advance. It may come as no surprise that GSA is looking for students who exhibit some kind of baseline skill in their art form. We want to ensure every student is up for the challenge of GSA, which is an intense 3-week experience in your artistic discipline. But don't be discouraged if for some reason you feel like you haven't received a lot of formal training, or if you feel like you don't measure up to other young artists in the state for one reason or another. Because just as much as we're looking for proven artistic skill, we're also looking for artistic potential. Plus, the only way you can guarantee you won't get into GSA is by not applying. The application process is designed to help prepare you for future opportunities, like college applications. So it's a learning experience no matter what. And remember, everyone at GSA, Paula, myself, and the adjudicators who are scoring your application, we're all cheering you on. We are already on your side. We want you to do well, and we recognize the ambition and courage it takes to submit your application. So we really hope that you'll go for it and put yourself out there. Equally as important, GSA is looking for students who are passionate about their art form. We aren't just interested in what you create, but why you create it. So think about what you want to accomplish through your creativity. Do you want to make other people smile? Do you want to spark change? At GSA's summer program, we live, breathe, and eat art. So we're looking for students who exhibit the level of passion and motivation it takes to dive into an opportunity like this one. We're also looking for students who exhibit an ability to collaborate with an open mind. The summer program is a diverse group of Kentuckians of different identities, perspectives, and walks of life. So students are expected to not only live with people different from themselves, but to learn from them and create with them. And together we co-create a powerful community that is larger than, but dependent upon, our individual contributions. And of course, we're looking for students who are eager to learn. GSA is designed to challenge you, to present you with new methods, ideas, and concepts. So we're looking for students who are excited to keep growing. We know sometimes it can feel uncomfortable to be challenged, but that's where the trust and support of GSA come into play. We're all learning and growing together. It's also worth emphasizing that GSA seeks and welcomes applicants of all backgrounds and identities. So this means that we seek young artists and welcome young artists from across the continuum of, and at the intersections of, race, gender identity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, hometown setting, mental and physical health or ability, language, religious belief, political leaning, or cultural background. Translations of our materials are available upon request, and while the GSA application is online, students without access to reliable internet can contact us via phone to discuss how we can accommodate their application regardless. All in all, we seek a student body that represents the richly diverse life experiences and perspectives of Kentucky, because a very profound way to grow is for all of us to learn from people who are different than ourselves. All right, so let's dig a little further into the summer program. What's it like? How will you spend your time? Do you actually have to do your own laundry? Let's find out. Before we begin, we're going to be talking about the summer program format as we know it from before the pandemic. So in full disclosure, for the past 2 summers, we've had to alter the summer program format in some way. In 2020, we were fully virtual, and while the summer program took place in person last summer, in 2021, we did have to implement some social distancing restrictions that affected some standard elements of the program. So since we can't currently know, of course, what COVID will look like next summer, we're going to be talking about the summer program as we've historically known it, because that's what we're going to base it on as much as possible if we do happen to make any accommodations. So, and if we do have to make any changes to the format next summer, if you're accepted into the program, you and your parents are going to be the first to know. All right, on the first day of the program, students move into the residential hall and attend an opening ceremony with their guardians. Then it's time to say goodbye to your family for 3 entire weeks. So that's right, 3 weeks. Once guardians leave campus on opening day, there's no visitation for the entire duration of the summer program. And for some of you, that might be exciting news. And for others, that might sound a little scary. But, we understand that. Fear not. Throughout GSA, you will be surrounded by compassionate residential staff, faculty, as well as a mental health counselor who we bring on board, who's living in residence with us and available 24/7. And all of those folks, especially our mental health counselor, can help us cope with any stress or homesickness that might arise, because that is totally normal. I know I get a little homesick while I'm there too, so we've got a good network of support. One thing to note is that students are not allowed to have their cell phones outside of their dorm room. So that is a big adjustment for a lot of folks. But you can always call your family and friends at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, often on meal breaks. But the phone does stay in your dorm when you go off for studio or when you're socializing like out in the courtyard or something. All right, so on the second day of the program, we hit the ground running. And what you're looking at here is an average day's schedule at GSA. So you're going to see some of that rigorous and intensive parts of the program at play here. So each day begins with a provided breakfast. Meals are provided, followed by a morning session attended by the entire school. Those morning sessions will usually include performances, presentations, and Q&As with artists from a variety of fields and careers. It's a great way to learn about other art forms, and you might even discover careers in the arts that you never knew existed. That's the hope, at least. Then it's off to class, or as we call it at GSA, studio time, or studio. So studio can consist of many different activities that vary based on your art form of focus. Classes, workshops, rehearsals, demonstrations, field trips, independent work time, and more. You also receive personalized training from a variety of experts in your field, and develop mentorships that can last a lifetime. After 3 hours of morning studio, we break for lunch. The afternoon consists of a 4-hour studio period, and then we head to dinner. And then in the evening, you guessed it, more art making. We head back to studio. And that's actually most nights. On some evenings, we actually have an all-school assembly, sort of like the morning one, but usually a little bit longer. And it might feature a performance or presentation that's more fully produced. So that might be like a dance company or a recital of some kind. Either way, students are often occupied until 10 p.m. when we finally return to the residential hall. Students can hit the hay or socialize, but lights are out by midnight. While GSA Studio takes place 7 days a week, we do start 1 hour later on Saturdays, and students have free time on Sundays until afternoon studio. So I'll say that one more time. Studio does take place 7 days a week, but we start 1 hour later on Saturdays, and we don't start until the 2 o'clock time on Sundays. Transportation to nearby houses of worship can be arranged for students by GSA staff. Again, this transportation provided by GSA staff to nearby houses of worship. There are only 2 days without studio during the program. The first usually falls on or around the 4th of July. That's in a normal year when we don't have 2 sessions though, so that might be different this year. But one of those days we use just to kind of really take it easy, maybe, acknowledge summer holidays. You can stay in your room and sleep all day. Sometimes there's been a volleyball tournament, things like that. Sometimes we worked with the Humane Society to bring in, some puppies or something like that for a little pet therapy. So we take a day of rest then, and then we also have a second day off that usually has included an all-school field trip to some cultural organizations in Kentucky, like the Sweet Art Museum, Kentucky Shakespeare, the Kentucky Center of Louisville, and so on. So on the dorm side, in the dorm, students experience a rich residential life program. So each student is assigned to what we call a residential advisor, or RA for short. So you can think of your RA as a sort of GSA mom or dad, is the way I like to think about it. Your RA also lives in the dorm and serves as a mentor who supports your ability to have a successful and fun GSA experience. Each student is a member of their RA's group, which consists of other GSA students from different art forms in various parts of the state. So you can think of the other students in your RA group sort of as your GSA siblings. And while you can spend plenty of time socializing outside of your RA group, they're a cohort of fellow young artists who you'll have regular communication and bonding time with. GSA students tend to develop friendships at the program that can last a lifetime. After all, in our everyday life at home, at least this is how it was when I was in high school, being an artist can often be what sets us apart from others. Kind of makes us a little different. But at GSA, it's what we all have in common with each other. So that creates a really special type of bond. Even though so much of GSA is spent in studio, RAs organize a variety of fun activities for students outside of class time. So these can include exercise and sports groups, crafts, skill building workshops, talent shows, and other celebrations and events that in the past, like I said, have included everything from a volleyball tournament to a school dance to a simple opportunity to have a lazy day in your dorm room. The summer program currently takes place on the beautiful campus of the University of Kentucky, located in Lexington. Students live in Holmes Hall, which is UK's fine arts residential hall that features not only state-of-the-art student living spaces, but also a dance studio, writing lab, art studio, and practice rooms. Each GSA student is assigned a roommate, so you do not get to choose your roommate, you are assigned a roommate, and that person will be from a different art form in a different county. That's on purpose. Again, a big part of GSA is exchange, is getting to know artists in other art forms, people from different places, people from different walks of life. Students share a 2-bedroom suite with their roommate, so that means that each student shares a bathroom and living space with one other person, but each student has their own individual bedroom. So say that again. Each GSA student and their roommate share a 2-bedroom suite. They share a bathroom and a living space with each other, but each student has their own individual bedroom. Room layouts for Holmes Hall are available on the University of Kentucky's website if you'd like to learn more. I know some people really want to know as much as possible about that. Floors are assigned by gender, so that means there is a boys' floor and girls' floor. And we also work with non-binary and transgender students to ensure that they have a customized housing situation that is comfortable for them. Beyond Holmes Hall, students experience a wide array of really stunning facilities at UK. So we eat our meals in a place called Champion's Kitchen, which is located within the fairly newly built Student Center. And we're also in the School of Arts and Visual Studies building, the Singletary Center for the Arts, the Fine Arts building, and the Schmidt Football Arts Center. And throughout the entire time that we're on campus, students are held to a high code of conduct, and that's all agreed upon prior to the summer program. Oh, and yes, going back to my remark from earlier, you do have to do your own laundry. So GSA is a great lesson in independence and self-sufficiency. And don't worry, if you need help, your RA will help you. On the final day of the program, family and friends are invited back to campus for a day of creative celebration. All students showcase their work in some fashion. The day is full of performances, readings, and gallery exhibitions. It concludes with a graduation ceremony, and then everyone heads home for some well-deserved rest. Of course, though, the GSA experience does not end after the summer program. GSA has a lifelong commitment to our alumni, supporting them toward a quality and accessible college experience, and championing them as creative citizens for decades to come. GSA alumni receive scholarships to nearly 30 colleges and universities across the country, and a full listing of those scholarships is available in the alumni section on our website. So go to our website, look for the alumni section for the scholarships. GSA alumni also receive significant college and career coaching by way of a college fair during the summer program, an exclusive opportunity to meet with college reps during our fall college and career day event, and through continued mentorships with GSA faculty and staff. Alumni are also eligible to apply for GSA's Toyota Alumni Fund, which provides $10,000 a year in grant funding to support alumni artistic development. And of course, students are connected to nearly 7,000 other GSA alumni who are creating exciting work in a variety of fields across the globe. So hopefully by now we have you on the edge of your seat, saying to yourself, GSA sounds like the perfect program for me. How can I apply? All right, you're in the right place. Let's talk a little bit about the application process. All right, first off, some big picture highlights of the application process. Every applicant must complete an online application to be considered for GSA 2022, although keep in mind, if someone doesn't have reliable internet access, we encourage them to contact us via phone and we'll figure out an accommodation. The entire application process for GSA from start to finish includes 2 rounds. So the first round is completely virtual. Every student who submits an application will be considered in that first virtual round. Then, some applicants are invited to participate in a second and final round of auditions and reviews. This gives them the designation of being a, quote, GSA finalist. And then the GSA class is selected from those GSA finalists. And so we're looking at the students who go to the final round, the GSA finalists, and we're selecting our summer class from that group. We'll come back to the details about the initial round of the application process in just a bit, but let's first review a couple other things about the application. Throughout this entire process, we're never going to ask you for your GPA, SAT, or ACT scores. We know those are commonly used indicators of student success, but we seek other indicators of your fit for GSA. Students can apply for up to 2 art forms. Like I said, we know that students are often multidisciplinary. If you are an instrumentalist, you can apply on 2 different instruments if you desire, but that will count as your 2 art forms, and you will not be able to submit a 3rd application. There is a $30 application fee collected just before submitting your application. That fee increases to $35 total if you apply for 2 art forms. Students who are on free and reduced lunch can have this fee completely waived by the click of a button in the application, no questions asked. So it's just a button that you click. It's an honesty policy thing. While we seek a diverse student body from across the entire state, there are no demographic acceptance quotas for GSA. So this means we don't accept a certain number of students from each county or high school, nor do we seek a specific quota for gender, race, age, grade in school, etc. In lieu of quotas, GSA adjudicators review each applicant in the context of their artistic abilities, their potential, their access to resources, and the identities and perspectives they have to offer, ultimately choosing a GSA class that is prepared for the summer program experience and represents a vast array of Kentuckian experiences. You may be aware that GSA is one of 3 awesome Governor's School programs in Kentucky, the other 2 being the Governor's Scholars Program, or GSP, and the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs, GSE. Both GSP and GSE are awesome programs. If you haven't checked them out, please do. And while all 3 of our programs are residential summer programs for talented high schoolers, our application processes are actually all 3 pretty different. A lot of people are especially familiar with GSP's application process because it significantly relies on involvement from the student's high school. But just note that overall, GSA's application process has much less formal involvement from your school than GSP. And technically, a student can apply for GSA without any kind of approval or involvement from the school, although we don't necessarily encourage that. We encourage you to let your teachers and guidance counselors know that you're applying so that they can support you. Schools do not nominate students for GSA. And again, while we invite you to and encourage you to consult with your teachers and counselors, and maybe use them as recommenders, which we'll talk about in a moment, you can theoretically apply really independently. Everything you need to know about GSA, including the link to access the application, we found on our website, kentuckygsa.org. Generally speaking, you're going to be looking at the section called Prospective Students, Parents, and Educators for information about the application. Again, note that our website is embedded within the larger site for Kentucky Performing Arts, which is a performing arts center. So if you accidentally click a link and it takes you to a page about tickets or shows or something, just go back to the previous page, or you can go back to our home URL, which again is kentuckygsa.org. On our website, you're going to find a very important document for your art form called an applicant guide. So there are 9 applicant guides in total, 1 for each art form. I can't emphasize this next point enough. Read your applicant guide for your art form in full before you start your application and consult it often throughout your application process. So if you're watching this today and you've not heard of the applicant guide, you haven't read your applicant guide yet, that's totally fine. That's totally okay. You've got over a month, but that should be probably the next thing you do is go look for your applicant guide on our website and spend some time reading it. Those are made available on October 13th, so they're there. The applicant guide is sort of a one-stop shop for all the information you need during the application process. So it's going to include a description of your ArcForms curriculum during the summer program, so you know what you're applying for. It's going to include an overview of what you need to submit in the online application, an overview of what you'll be asked to do in the final round if you advance, the criteria that your application is being scored on, and a list of tips from adjudicators. If you have any lingering questions after reading the applicant guide, we do have a FAQ document on our website, or we encourage you to contact GSA staff with your questions. We'll provide our contact info at the end of the webinar. Right. So again, the application opened on November 3rd. It is due on January 9th. You can start and stop the application as you please and save your work along the way, so there's no reason not to start it today if you haven't already. When you click the Apply Now button on GSA's website, you're going to be actually moved to another website. It's our application portal, which is called Accepted. So you'll create a profile with Accepted and then proceed with your application. And while the GSA team is here to answer your questions about the application, note that Accepted does have their own technology support team that you can contact if you experience any technology glitches. Also, Accepted is not misspelled on this slide. It is missing the final E in the word. It's actually a platform that's used by various collegiate arts programs, so this may not be the last time you use it. One note, if you are, I think it's underneath the age of 16, Accepted will require your parent or a guardian or an adult to set up your account for you. So if you're underneath the age of 16, you've not yet started your profile, just note that you're going to have a guardian assist you just in getting it set up. It's a pretty simple, straightforward process, but that just sometimes catches folks by surprise. Students will be asked for some basic demographic and contact information, and then will be asked to identify 2 recommenders. Applicants provide contact information for each recommender, and then Accepted emails each recommender an online form to fill out. You never have to submit a letter of recommendation or turn anything in on behalf of your recommenders. We strongly recommend you complete this part of the application process early as possible so your recommenders have time to complete the form before the January 9th deadline. If you or someone you know has applied to GSA in the past, there are some significant changes to the recommendation process this year, and we expect that there are changes that will make your lives a little easier. At least that's our hope. So in the past, applicants had to identify 1 teacher and 1 school administrator to complete the recommendation forms, and the questionnaires that the teachers received were slightly different from the ones that school administrators received. This year, though, you still have to identify 2 recommenders, but you have a bit more freedom to select who they are. So both recommenders will complete the same form, in which we'll ask them about your artistic abilities and potential, how you contribute to your learning environment and/or community, and your overall character and fit for GSA. We actually, in our another webinar recording that's on our website, where we go through the application portal, we actually show you the recommender form itself, so you see what they're being asked. If you have mentors or teachers who know your artistic work, they're probably going to be the best people to complete these forms. But if you don't, no worries. We totally understand not everyone has 1 or 2 folks who know them as an artist. So in that case, simply choose someone who knows you as a student or a contributing member of a group or organization, like a club, youth group, sports team, etc. Your recommenders can be teachers from inside school or outside of school. Again, mentors, community leaders, school administrators. Their job title matters less, and their ability to speak to your strengths matter more. Be sure to contact your recommenders in advance of filling out the application to let them know that they should be on the lookout for your recommendation forms in their inbox, and so you can tell them why they think they should give you a glowing recommendation, or why you think they should give you a glowing recommendation. All right, also students across all in ArcForms will need to respond to 2 essay prompts. One is a written essay, and one is a verbal response. Again, the prompts are in the applicant guide. Students also respond to some ArcForms specific questions about their experience and interests in their area. And then from there, students are prompted to submit images, videos, and/or documents specific to your ArcForms requirements. Again, carefully review the applicant guide to review what is required for your art form specifically. So for some art forms, this will be as simple as 1 or 2 uploads. For other art forms, you'll need to create multiple short videos. So give yourself plenty of time to gather your materials by reading the applicant guide as soon as possible. And remember, we are super excited to see your artwork and review your application. We totally understand that it can be intimidating to submit your work for scoring and judging, but know that we want you to do well, and we will be impressed with the ambition, discipline, and courage you've exhibited just by submitting an application in the first place. So today is not the only webinar we have provided this fall. As you can see, we've been at these since October 6th. But the reason I share this schedule with you all is because all of the recordings of our previous webinars are on our website. Again, we're repeating today the webinar from October 6th, but there is a recording of an applicant guide webinar where we walk through an applicant guide, the different sections, how to use those. We have a application walkthrough webinar from November 3rd where we actually share our screen while completing a GSA application. So if you're more of a visual learner like me, that could be a good resource for you. Last month in November, we had art form specific webinars where we actually chatted with faculty from each art form and looked at the applicant guides with them and talked about what we're specifically looking for in applicants for each individual art form. So if you're interested in a specific art form and you haven't checked those out, highly encourage you to do so. They're a great resource. And then December 15th, it's our last time on Zoom for a little while. We're just going to be here seeing what questions folks have. All right, we're getting toward the end of our presentation here and getting closer to Q&A. So this is a timeline for the application process once you've submitted your application, which again, you must do by January 9th. Just a reminder, if you can submit your application early, do it. Like, I would submit it at least a week early if you could. And the reason why is, I promise you, a lot of people are going to be submitting their applications in the days leading up to January 9th, and accepted will run slow. Your files will take longer to upload. It will be a more stressful experience for you, and you'll get it in, but and you certainly can turn it in on January 9th, and it won't be held against you at all. But if you are able to turn it in early and fully submit it early, it will be a favor to you. On February 18th, we will announce who is advancing to that second and final round, and then on March 18th and 19th, we will hold those final round auditions and reviews. Still waiting to determine if those will be in person or virtual, but at least by the time of the finalist announcement, we will share that information. So if you find out that you are a finalist, you will then find out whether you're coming to an in-person review or a virtual one. If it's in person, it will take place at the University of Kentucky in Lexington on either March 18th or 19th. And then everyone who is a GSA finalist will learn whether or not they've been accepted into GSA by April 15th. So that is the day that we will announce our accepted and alternate students. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we don't have the exact dates for GSA 2022's 2 sessions just yet. We know that they will be in June and or July, and we plan on announcing those as soon as possible, hopefully in the next month, maybe the next month and a half. But we are working very hard at getting those dates for you all. Okay, just a couple other final tips here. Dive into your art form every chance you can, and this is whether it's in class, just practicing your sketching or writing at home, even just researching the work of other artists online. Learn and experience as much as you can, even if it's just on YouTube. Form opinions about what you see and learn. So why do you like or not like a piece? How do you see GSA's criteria in the work of other artists? Who are some artists that you admire? And secondly, reflect on why you like engaging in the arts and what kind of artist you want to be. And then get comfortable talking to other people about it. We know it can sometimes be uncomfortable to talk to other people about yourself as an artist, but you've got nothing to lose, and chances are you actually have a lot of really important things to share. So chat with your family and friends about your art form, your dreams for your artistic future, how you want to grow. Maybe even ask them about their creative interests as well, even if it's just something that seems like it's every day, like cooking or crafting. It's a great way to prepare for GSA, or in the GSA application, and it can be a wonderful way to deepen your relationship with friends and family. And throughout all of this, remember that while GSA is a wonderful program, we are not the be-all, end-all. We do not get to determine whether or not you are a good artist or whether you have a future in the arts. The GSA application process is competitive, even when we're doubling the size of the program. We're likely going to see between 1,200 to 1,400 applications for what are now 512 spots. But don't let that hold you back. We hope you'll apply because you believe you deserve an opportunity like this one. If ultimately you aren't accepted into the program, our hope is that you feel proud of putting yourself out there and that you feel more determined and prepared for other opportunities. Because you're an artist, and no one, including GSA, can take that away from you. So you are an artist regardless of whether or not you go to GSA. And just finally remember these few things because they are relevant to you, again, regardless of whether or not you go to GSA. You are enough and you are important. You are an artist and your potential is limitless. Again, no one can take that away from you. So like I said earlier, we're here for you throughout this whole process. We love hearing from our applicants and our parents and their educators. So please reach out to us either by phone, 502-566-5192, or GSA info at Kentucky Performing Arts. Again, no one's sitting here waiting to judge you. We love chatting with you and love helping you out. It's also our job to do that. And follow us on social media. You can see our Facebook name and our Instagram handle there at KY@GSA. All right, so thank you all so much for attending our session. Now that you're armed with this information, you're well on your way to being the best GSA applicant you can be. So we hope you'll continue keeping in touch. And as we say at GSA, we hope you continue going forth and making great art. Again, we're going to transition into Q&A. So if you have questions, go ahead and start putting those in the Q&A feature. And just a reminder that when we do wrap up today's webinar, you will receive a questionnaire. Please ask you to fill that out for us. All right, I see Paula has joined us again. How are you doing, Paula?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. Okay, so I see two questions that I can answer right now. The first one, if you're auditioning for two art forms, do we need four different recommendations? So that's an amazing question. A little bit of clarification on that end. Say you are auditioning for both drama and musical theater, we would send recommender forms to, and you wanted to keep the same recommenders, we would send them the recommender forms twice. So they can say the exact same thing, which is fine. We would just have to send it twice. Brooke, let me know in the chat if I answered your question or not. All right. Someone says, I have medical issues. For example, I'm getting a pacemaker in December, and I will need to have my phone with me in case something goes wrong so I can contact with my parents. Will I be allowed to have my phone with me and have an exception to the phone rule? You're absolutely right. So, when it comes to medical issues, things of that nature, we do make accommodations. However, you would have to make sure that you are only using your phone in case of an emergency, not, oh, well, everyone's at lunch and I'm done with my lunch, so now I'll get on Instagram while everyone else is still eating lunch, right? So we will definitely accommodate. GSA is all about being as accommodating as we can. However, with accommodating, there is a little bit of responsibility that we ask each individual to take and make sure that they are doing their best. Is the application on a certain website? Yes, the application is on our GSA website. So you can go to www.kentuckygsa.org and it will tell you apply for GSA 2022. And then on that landing page, it will show you everything you need to apply. It will show you the timeline, any other webinars that you may have missed so you can watch those. It'll tell you the applicant guides, and then it will take you from there right to the website that you can use to apply. Awesome question. Since the program is expanding, will we get to choose whether we go to the first or second the program of first or second 3-week program? That's an amazing question, and it does make sense. there won't necessarily be an individual choosing. We will ask everyone to, and this is something that I'm saying with an air of this is something that Nick and I still talk constantly about. Um, but this is we will ask everyone, if they have any types of conflicts, say like there's this really important dance competition that what is going to happen in July. Is there any way that you can come into June, go to the June one if you're accepted? We will ask for those types of conflicts. However, there won't be any type of like, okay, the website's open now, everyone go choose if you want to be on, come to the first session, now everyone go choose if you want to go to the second session. That creates just a little bit too much chaos for us as administrators. And there's also the fact that if people get into one of our other governor schools programs like GSP or GSE and you don't go to GSA, we have to find someone who is an alternate for that specific session. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but the answer is no. There's not going to be any choosing. We'll choose for you.
Yeah. The way I'll echo that with another wording is just that students, when accepted to GSA, will be assigned to a session, but we will do our best at some point in the process to understand if you all have a preference, or actually, I'm not going to say a preference, a need to go to one session versus the other. But we will likely not be able to take all of those into account, and students will be assigned. Which is basically what's happened in the past. It's just they've been assigned to our one session.
Right. Do you write the personal essay on accepted or write it on a different platform, then send it in? If you write it on a different platform, how do you send it in? My suggestion is that you write it on, any type of word processor that you have, and then you're gonna upload it on using the steps that accepted gives you.
Yeah, it's just a file upload,
Hmm.
as opposed to like typing it in the window or something. Although there are some questions that you'll type directly
In the window.
It's pretty user friendly, and again, encourage you to check out the application portal walkthrough webinar recording on our website. It will show you how all of that works.
Excuse me, y'all. It's a hefty yawn. All right. Let's see. Any more questions? Mm-mm-mm.
Any more, y'all?
What about medications taken daily? Excellent question. Thank you so much. So, we talked about having GSA mom, quote unquote, mom and dads, your RAs. Um, with that, summer staff, administration included, we are not allowed to give anyone medication directly. So any medication that you take personal, like that you would take daily, it will be your responsibility to make sure it's getting taken. However, if there's a situation that a parent is like needs to chat with administration about, again, that's one of those accommodations that we want to do our very best about, but we don't like uh, the only word I can think of is like hoard. We're not like hoarders of everyone's medication and then we give it out at breakfast. We don't do anything like that.
Yeah, so students are responsible for bringing enough medication for the 3 weeks, and taking it themselves. Again, like Paul said, we don't store it. If again there are any concerns about that, we have a whole period of time before the summer program where parents can call and talk about any specific instances or context of specific situations. And that medical information is shared on a very, very as needed basis with the caregivers for your children at the program, which is usually a very, very small group of people, one of which being their RA. So what has happened in the past, and this is not was not asked about, but I'm kind of going past the question, is if somebody needs reminders about taking their medication or something like that, if a parent lets us know that, we can have a chat with the student's RA so that they have that person kind of checking on them before bedtime or something to take your medication and so on. So, of course, all of that is within, of course, HIPAA and privacy guidelines, privacy laws, but we encourage any parents to let us know of specific needs that we can accommodate those.
Awesome. Awesome. If applying for visual art, is there a preferred type of picture wanted for the art form specific uploads? For example, should I scan the artwork if possible or just take a photo of it and submit it? Um, I'm like I want to say 90% sure that the applicant guide covers what they're looking for specifically and how to upload it. So I would refer to the visual art applicant guide because I don't want to tell you anything wrong in that regard. However, if you go through it and you're like, yeah, this still does not make any sense to me, then you can give us a call on the helpline or email us.
Yeah, and I would say I think we're less concerned about the method by which you provide an electronic image and more concerned about just it being the best one possible. So if scanning it in versus taking a photo of it, if you look at both of those, the piece of artwork, comes across clear and one of them's a higher quality image, I'd go for that one.
How would I pay the application fee when I would be using my own accepted account, but my parents are the ones paying for it? Go ahead, Nick. Looks like you wanna...
Yeah, I, I am 99% sure that you just put in a credit card or an electronic form of payment.
Mhm.
So if I was sitting here applying for my own accepted account, but my parents were sitting next to me, I would just ask my parents for their debit card or their credit card, and you could just input it that way.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Good questions.
Mhm. Might be the history, the first time in GSA 2022 webinar history that we're actually done at 6 o'clock. If no one has any other questions.
Yeah, well, if you all do have any questions that we didn't get to today, like we said, please call and email us anytime. You had some great questions today, so thank you for those. And again, we're here for you to support you as artists. We think you are some of the most important people in society, so we're here to champion you. And again, that's regardless of whether or not you come to GSA this summer.
Mhm.
We want you to have a really great experience with the application. Paula, any final words from you?
My final words of advice would be to start your applications now. Just start soon. I was actually talking with a student about this yesterday. One of my own students who was like, "Oh, I want to know any tips and tricks." And I was like, "The only tip and or trick I can tell you is to start early and start now, so that it doesn't feel like an insurmountable task by the time January gets here, because January will be right around the corner, y'all."
Yeah.
So do yourself a favor and start early. Do your recommenders a favor and get information to them early. Oh, and based on the applications that we've seen thus far, do your best to make sure, double check, triple check, that you have the correct information for your recommender in terms of their email addresses and names. Um, I'm pretty sure Nick mentioned it, but like if there's an issue, we can go back and change it. However, if we can avoid issues and do it right the first time, we're all for that here at GSA. So just confirm that you have their email address and their name and that sort of information written down correctly, so that that part of the process goes smoothly. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you.
Justin. Awesome. Well, thank you, Paula, for those great words of wisdom. And it's been fun doing this with you. And
Mhm.
to all the folks watching tonight, thank you so much for joining us. It's so much fun to talk about the program and to meet you all even over Zoom. So we look forward to seeing your applications. We look forward to hearing from you. And we will talk to you all soon. Have fun making art. Have fun with those applications.
Good night.
Good night.